Oh, snap. I need to turn up my volume too. Okay. Welcome everybody, and welcome back to most of you. Last workshop for today. We'll be covering groundwork. When I say groundwork, I don't just mean tricks using the legs or feet, although we will definitely be doing a lot of stuff with the legs and feet, but really just anything that you're doing while on the ground to me is considered groundwork. And what am I forgetting to say here? I feel like I'm forgetting something. Well, most of you have been here throughout the day, so if I'm forgetting something, you've probably already heard it. I will say, if at any point you have any questions or want me to slow down or give like a different angle of something, please don't hesitate to unmute yourself or jump in the chat. I'm gonna do my best to keep an eye on the chat and on the waiting room, at least in the beginning here. And as I mentioned at the end of the last workshop, for groundwork, I definitely recommend having some kind of padding underneath you, whether it's just carpet or a blanket or a yoga mat. If you've got like actual like thick padded mats, even better, because if we have time, we might try to play with some somersaults at the very end. I like to save them for last because A, they're difficult, B, they are not for everyone. And honestly, I think they come down to more about being able to somersault well than Dragonstaff well. So I am really bad with somersaults. So we're going to save those for the end if we have time. And we're a couple minutes after here. I think it's safe to say the gang's all here. So welcome again, everybody, to Dragon Fest. We're gonna get going on some groundwork here. So like I mentioned, you'll probably want to have some type of padding here. I also highly recommend being barefoot. Not totally necessary. I do think you can get away with doing all these tricks with socks or shoes on, but socks especially get very slippery. Shoes, depending on what kind of shoes you're wearing, might have like extra like platform at the heel or something like that, which can mess some stuff up. So barefoot, I think, is best, but of course, always you do you. And the first thing that we're going to do here is just sit on the floor with our dragons. I forgot to mention, it can be also really helpful if you have like a couch or something that you can lean up against, because this is, at some point in the workshop, it's going to become a little bit of a core workout. And it can be nice if you have something to rest your back against so that you're not burning out your core. So let's get started. I like to break up groundwork into three main categories. It's definitely not all the categories. And basically, I kind of think of these three areas as being like the three places you can go and kind of take what you can do standing and bring it to different levels on the ground. So tricks that most of us probably know, like Chirolls and palm spins, you can do them standing. Then you can also come down to kneeling. So this would be category one, kneeling. And I always recommend just trying to play with whatever you can do standing and see where you can do it or how you can do it on the ground. So to be kneeling, which would include, like one leg kneeling, both sitting back, and see what else you can do from this position. This is our first category of groundwork. And then we'll move on to our second category, which is seated. And there's definitely lots and lots of ways you can be sitting. So of course you could just be sitting with the legs out, legs wide will actually unlock certain things like a seated matrix you can do with the legs wide while sitting. And it could also be, crisscross, or if you can sit in lotus. I cannot, but however you want to be sitting, these are all the second category of groundwork. And as I mentioned, you can kind of just play with what you can do standing from any of these categories, which brings us to our third category, which is recline. So taking these tricks all the way down to the floor. Oops. Reclined on our back. I'm a little limited on space in here, but also didn't want to be on the hard wood outside. So yeah, this is our third category, reclined. And definitely, like I said, those aren't the only categories. There's, like kind of in between stages and doing the splits and things like inversions, which are like on the ground, but you're not really sitting or reclined or kneeling. But that's a whole nother discussion. Those are kind of the three main categories we're going to focus on is kneeling, sitting, and reclined. So first, from a seated position, if you want to save your core, you can also totally do this reclined as well. First, we're just going to let the staff roll from the knees towards the feet. Because if you're not already used to groundwork, it's probably going to feel very different. If you're used to just spinning Dragonstaff with your hands and arms, then bringing the staff to your legs and feet feels really awkward at first. So just play with the incline here. Can lower the feet to bring the staff down the legs to the feet. Can raise the feet to send the staff back towards you, up the legs. So kind of get used to playing with that incline there to either slow the staff down or speed it up, send it away from you or towards you. Try to work on keeping it even, keeping it balanced. And then from here, next time it comes down to your feet, see if you can kick the staff up and catch it with your hands. And like I said, you can do this seated as I'm doing it, but it's also going to be a little bit more of a core workout. You can totally do all this from a reclined position as well if you want to save your core for some of the later tricks. This is a nice movement that can be done repeated. Picking it up from the feet, catching it in the hands, placing it back at the knees. Nice little groundwork kick up. And then from here, we're going to start to bring the feet into the mix. So we're going to do that same motion that we just did, only we're going to be reclined on our backs. And instead of tossing the staff up or kicking the staff up from our feet, we're going to let the staff roll over the toes onto the bottoms of the feet, like so. And try to walk the staff with your feet, 1 foot at a time. I have each foot kind of a few inches to the sides of the center point. I'll turn around so that we're facing the same way. Trying to keep an eye on the chat too. And there's a couple ways you can get the staff over the toes onto the feet. One is you can, if you feel like the staff is rolling evenly down both legs, you can just let the staff roll over the toes onto the bottoms of the feet, and then start walking the feet, kind of rocking the staff back and forth. The other way, if you find that the staff is not so balanced while it's rolling down the legs, is you can kick it up from the feet and catch it at the bottoms of the feet. So to be more specific, kicking it up from the tops of the feet or toes, catching it at the bottoms of the feet, and then starting to walk it, the staff rolling away from you. And this I've heard referred to as a foot chi, kind of like a foot chi roll. And again, feel free to stop me if any of you have any questions or if I'm going too fast. Just double check here. Okay. We are cruising. And I'm going to do a quick little demonstration for the next trick because we're going to get into it from that little kind of foot chi motion. Only the part that we're going into from there, you won't really be able to look at the screen while you're doing it. So I'm going to give a quick little demo. This is something that I call a halasana roll because it looks like a lot like a yoga pose called halasana. So first I'll show the trick and then I'll show the yoga pose so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Same entrance, we let the staff roll over the toes onto the bottoms of the feet. Maybe you walk the staff, maybe you don't, but you're gonna want the staff to roll down the heels, down the backs of the legs, catch the staff with the hands, bring the legs underneath the staff. And as much as I hate to demonstrate this yoga pose, because it's kind of embarrassing, I'm gonna demonstrate it anyways, just so you can kind of see. You don't need to be able to do this pose exactly to be able to do the trick, but if you're able to, it helps a lot, especially if you're finding the trick isn't really accessible for you, then practicing this yoga pose can help a lot. And this pose is called halasana. It translates to plow pose, which I don't know why the ancient yogis had to do me like that, but it looks like this. And like I said, you don't have to be able to bring your toes to the floor. You can even just bring your legs like this. That's enough for a halasana roll. But this is kind of the shape that we're going for. And being able to do that pose obviously will make this trick a lot more accessible. So if you haven't tried already, feel free. Coming into it the same way. I'll turn around so we're facing the same way. Letting the staff roll from the knees to the feet. Get the staff over the toes onto the bottoms of the feet. If you find that it's rolling down your feet evenly, you can come straight into your halasana roll. Let the staff roll down the heels, down the backs of the legs, and catch it with your hands. If you find that when the staff reaches the bottoms of your feet, it's not even, then it can be helpful to do that little foot chi and kind of walk the staff until it is reaching both your heels evenly. And then you can go into your halasana roll. So the foot chi in between is kind of optional, I guess you could say. Oh, okay. Having troubles getting it over the toes. Yeah, that's why I said there's kind of two ways to do it, because as much as I feel like it's smoother if you can just get it to roll over the toes onto the feet, uh, for whatever reason, the toes sometimes just don't want to work at the same time the same way. So if that's happening, it can be a little bit easier to kind of kick it up and then bring the bottoms of the feet under the staff. But that also kind of plays, or it comes down to playing with the amount of like momentum and everything you're kicking it up with, because you could also kick it up a little too much and then you catch it on your feet, but it's got a lot of speed on the roll. But yeah, those are at least the two ways I've found of kind of getting it over the toes. Ooh. And this is going to lead us, this halasana roll, into a backward somersault towards the end of the workshop if we have time. So we aren't going to jump into that right now, but just something to note for later. Yeah, exactly. For some reason, one of my feet always wants to go one before the other. I don't know why. It feels like it's going to save it from falling, but um, it makes it, yeah, lopsided going onto the bottoms of your feet. So yeah, the halasana roll, definitely one of those tricks that kind of comes down more to a yoga pose than a dragon staff trick. But if we have time, we're going to get to our somersaults at the end, and that is basically where we'll pick up from the halasana roll. It will lead us right into a backward somersault, which I'm really bad at, just a heads up. um, so where are we going from here? Okay, from here, we're going to get into some foot stuff. So, I'll show what we're getting into first. This is something that I like to call a foot reverse. I don't know if it has another name or if you guys are aware of another name. Also, feel free to let me know. It'll look something like this. And you're basically changing the rolling direction of the staff with your feet to change it from rolling away from you to rolling towards you. I'll turn to face the same way as you in case that's helpful. And how we're going to do this is, of course, this can be done on either side. So you will want to drill both sides eventually. We're just going to start with our right foot. So you'll come into the same way we came into the last couple tricks. Send the staff from the knees to the feet. And once the staff's reaching the tops of the feet, if we're going to use our right leg, which we are, or at least I am, we're going to want to remove our right foot from underneath the staff and bring the right foot kind of on top of the staff, just a couple inches to the right of the center. So left foot under the staff, right foot kind of on top of the staff. And then we're going to use that right foot to push that side of the staff away and send the center point to turn around and roll up the right leg. Something like this. And then you can bring both legs back underneath the staff with the staff rolling towards you. I'll try to give some other angles of that too. Once the staff reaches the feet, remove the right foot from under it, bring it on top, press that end of the staff away from you to flip the staff, letting the center point roll towards you, kind of up the right leg more at first, and then I slip the left foot underneath the staff. So both legs are underneath the staff and it's rolling towards me. Foot reverse. One thing too about groundwork is if you're really comfortable with palm spins, I look at palm spins as being like a safety net with groundwork, especially foot stuff. So if at any point you're doing some foot stuff and you feel the staff dropping off and it's going to fall on the floor, you can always just bring that hand underneath the center point and come into a palm spin. It's like always there. If you fail with the foot step, it's always there to save you. I just wanted to mention that too, in case any of you are comfortable with palm spins. I know that's a whole separate workshop on its own. Any questions on the foot reverse before we move on to the foot spin, which the foot spin is one of my favorite ground tricks, although a somewhat common one these days. Groundwork has become more popular. Okay, I'm going to keep an eye on the chats, but I think we're going to keep on moving. So the foot spin, I'll give a quick little demo too. Look something like this. At least that's one variation. We're going to cover two variations. That'll be the second one. The first one's going to be a little kick up and catching it in a palm spin. So hopefully you know your palm spin. If you don't, then the second variation might actually work better for you. Hopefully, actually I might close the blinds a little bit. Okay. So we're going to come into this very similar to how we came into the foot reverse, but once it reaches our feet, it's going to become a bit different. So I'm reclined on my back again. I'm going to send the staff down towards the feet. Only now, if I'm going to do my foot spin on the right foot, instead of removing the right foot like we did for the foot reverse, we're going to remove the left foot from under the staff, bring the left foot on top of the staff, so kind of opposite how we started the last one. Because I'm doing the foot spin on the right foot, I have the right side of the staff on top of the right ankle, left side of the staff with the left foot kind of on top, so that I can use the left foot to press that side of the staff away and bring the center point up onto the bottom of the right foot from the big toe side of the foot. So right there. And that brings us to our foot spin. So once you can get that center point up the big toe side onto the bottom of the right foot, the longer you leave it on the bottom of the foot, the less momentum it will have, unless you're really good at developing momentum on the bottoms of your feet, which I'm not. So I usually let it just do like a rotation or two at the bottom of the foot. And then we have two options to exit. I think the easier one, if you know your palm spins, is to kick the staff up from the bottom of the foot and catching it in a palm spin, like so. Give another angle of that too. So at any point when the center point is at the bottom of the right foot, you can kick the staff up, catch the center point on your palm. The other variation is a bit more tricky, but if you don't know your palm spin, it might be easier because palm spins can take some time. So second variation. Once we get the center point onto the bottom of the right foot, we're going to let it do one full turn, or one full circle, I should say. So we use the left foot to kind of kick the center point onto the bottom of the right foot and press the staff away from us. So it does a rotation there. And once it does one full rotation, you should feel a point where the center point wants to travel off the pinky toe side of the foot. As soon as you feel that happening, you want to curve your right foot inwards. So point your big toe inwards and kind of flatten out the right side of your leg or calf. So you're kind of bringing the pinky toe side up, big toe side down, so that the center point can travel towards you up the right leg, and you can catch the staff in the hands, come into whatever you like. Let me give another angle on that too. Foot spins, super crucial groundwork trick in my opinion. So if I'm going onto the right foot, I remove the left foot, press that side of the staff away to bring the center point onto the bottom of the right foot. Let it do one full spin on the bottom of the right foot. And once you feel that center point wanting to leave the pinky toe side of the foot, curve the foot in, big toe side down, pinky toe side up. Let the center point travel up the leg towards you. And even if you're reclined on the ground, you're probably feeling by now, this is a bit of a core workout. I forgot to mention too, it can be nice, a little late now, but it can be nice if you are practicing or drilling these ground tricks where you're reclined flat. It could be really nice to have a little cushion, like a little couch cushion underneath your head and neck. Just because, especially I've noticed I'm always lifting my head off the ground to see what's going on, and then I feel it a lot in my neck. So if you do find yourself practicing this stuff, it can be really nice to have a little cushion or support there, just so you're not holding your head up the entire time you're practicing, and then afterwards your neck is like, oh, thanks for that. Any questions on the foot spin or foot reverse before we keep moving here? I feel like those are really important ones, so I'm gonna give everyone a sec to chime in if you have any questions on them. Okay. Let me double check my notes too. Okay, actually before we move on for the foot spins, I got one little other variation I can throw at you before we move on to some other stuff. So you can also kind of do foot spins continuously by alternating back and forth between your 2 feet. So how we exited the foot spin with the center point rolling off the pinky toe side of the foot, you could also do the opposite. So if you feel that the center point wants to roll off the big toe side of the foot, you can let it travel off the big toe side and onto the bottom of the left foot, which would look something like this. And as you can see, you can kind of alternate back and forth between the 2 feet, or you could just go from one to the other. Like I said, at any point, if the staff drops, you can always catch it in a palm spin. But I usually just do that kind of continuous foot spin, going from one foot and then back to the starting foot. So starting with the right foot onto the left, once more onto the right, exit. But yeah, if you know your foot spin, it's a nice little way to switch it up. And if there aren't any questions on the foot spin and foot reverse, we're going to start working our way towards the leg Chiroll, which no matter how much time goes by, it's still one of my favorite ground tricks. And it is yet another trick that I learned from watching Linda Farkas. So I don't know if I've mentioned actually so far in this workshop, but I definitely did in the last one. A lot of these leg tricks and ground tricks I learned from watching Linda Farkas as well. So highly recommend looking her up. There's actually a specific video on YouTube of hers. It's called Contact Staff and Dragonstaff 2-in-1. And it is just full of amazing Dragonstaff groundwork ideas. That's where I got the somersault, the leg Chirolls, almost everything probably from this workout, from this workshop, if I'm being honest. So I'm not seeing any questions, so we'll jump in to the leg Chirolls. Before we do, we're gonna kind of do like an assisted leg Chiroll, so we'll work our way up to it. And this could be a point where if you have a like couch or a chair or something you can lean up against, it could be a really nice time to do that because the leg Chirolls can be done reclined as well, but especially when learning them, it can be nice to be sitting up so you can kind of see what's happening. And before we get into the leg Chirolls, we're going to cover something called an assisted leg Chiroll, which looks like this. Big core workout. It's basically like a core exercise with Dragonstaff. And I don't think it looks as cool as the leg Chirolls, but it kind of gets you in a similar motion and is another nice little leg trick. So basically what's happening here, and not to make this more of a core workout, but I feel like it looks even better if you can do it really quickly. But basically what's happening here is I have the staff rolling down my left arm and my right shin. And as soon as the staff is running out of track to roll on, I'm going to switch. So I'll kick the end that's on my right foot up, catch it on my right arm, drop the end that's on my left hand down onto my left leg. So now I have the opposite side going, right arm, left leg. Once it runs out of track, same thing, kick the side that's on the foot up onto the left arm, drop the end that's on the right hand down onto the right leg, and oops, back and forth we go. So you're probably noticing now, yes, big core workout. And this can be a nice way to set up for leg Chirolls too. And the more you can kind of bring the hand or arm that you're not using out of the equation, the kind of nicer it'll look so it doesn't look like your hands are just there the whole time. Those are assisted leg Chirolls. And if there aren't any questions on those, we'll start jumping into the leg Chirolls. I used to not teach them in the groundwork workshop because they took me like years to be able to do, and I didn't feel like it was something that people could really figure out in our workshop. But I started adding it to the groundwork workshop this year, and at every festival I taught it at, people were doing leg Chirolls. So apparently it's very possible to learn within an hour. So we'll see where we can get to with it. But I just say all that to kind of remind you, if you don't get it first try, not to feel discouraged. It's a very awkward feeling trick, like I said, especially if you're not used to doing dragon stuff on the legs and feet. Also a nice core workout. So You can drill it reclined or sitting up or with your back against something. This would be it reclined. It's still the same trick, but you're gonna save yourself a lot of core workout as opposed to if you do it sitting up. However, you won't be able to see what's happening as well if you're laying down either. But yeah, the choice is yours, of course. So how we're going to get into this is by starting with the staff on the legs. And we're going to want the staff kind of crooked, I guess. So usually we want it like parallel with us, horizontal. Now we want it horizontal, but shifted so that one end, hopefully you can see there, one end is already kind of on top of the right foot or ankle. The other end is up near my left knee. And try turning around too. Hopefully you can see that angle there. Can you? I think so. Yes. Okay. So from here, you're kind of already set up in your leg Chiroll motion. So from here, if you simply kind of flick that side of the staff with the right foot, so press it off of the right foot to send that end up near the right knee. As you do that, the left side of the staff should roll down the left leg towards the foot so that you end up in that same position we were just in, only on the opposite side. So now the left side of the staff should be near the left foot or ankle, right side of the staff near the right knee. And same thing, use that left foot to send that end of the staff up towards the left knee. It'll definitely take a little bit of playing around with the amount of kind of like momentum you give it as you kick it back up towards you, because obviously you don't want to kick it up so much that it goes past the knee, but you also don't want to do such a tiny kick that it doesn't really travel up the leg. So it's all about kind of finding that sweet spot with it. And as you practice, it should get a little more smoother, a little more seamless, so it doesn't look so much like one end, like when the staff stops when it comes to one end. But especially when you're learning, it could be nice to do it that way. And I don't know if I've mentioned so far, but also when you're learning any trick, really helpful to use your guide hands. So no shame in using the guide hands just as you figure out the pathway. And having, especially for groundwork, just having your hands there ready to catch the staff so that you don't bonk yourself. Hopefully you all can see from that angle okay. This angle too. And yeah, you can do this reclined or seated. If you are doing it sitting up, it can be nice to have the hands along your sides if you don't have any back support. But once you've got the trick down, the way that I've seen Linda Farkas do it, that I use a lot, that I thought looked really cool, was to kind of use the arms to trace the dragon heads a little bit. You can kind of make these wavy arms like you're pulling that end of the dragon staff towards you each time you kick it up. I thought that looked really nice, but of course, even more core workout because then you don't have your hands for assistance there. So that is leg Chirolls. Any questions on those or the assisted leg Chiroll? I don't know about y'all, but my core is feeling it. Definitely recommend either being reclined or having your back up against something. Hey, I love it. Yeah, like I said, they took me. I spent months watching Linda Farkas doing them, and it was one of those tricks. I was like, maybe I just can't do it. Maybe it's just like one of those things, you know. And then I finally got them, and yeah, now seeing people picking them up, I'm just like, this is so cool. It's still one of those tricks I saw before I ever got a dragon staff, and it still just looks like magical to me when I see people do them, especially with fire. But yeah, big core workout tricks here. Groundwork, if you're not reclined on your back, it's almost a whole core workout in and of itself. And I'm gonna double double check my notes here because we are flying through this, but I've been kind of finding that that's the case this year with the groundwork workshop. I used to think we couldn't get into the leg Chirolls or the somersaults, but y'all are killing it, so we've been getting into them. Let's see where to next. Okay. Pardon me. Before we start messing with these somersaults, we're gonna cover a different trick. Yet another one I got from watching Linda Farkas. I call them groundwork duckouts. There is a little bit of like controversy, you could say, over what exactly a duckout is. So I might be wrong about that. I don't know. But I'll demonstrate them first just so that you can see how they look like. And I'll be honest, I don't usually get the staff rolling in this trick. For a lot of people with Dragonstaff, they're like, roll is religion. And if it stops rolling, they don't want no part of it. I'm a little more loose with it, I guess. Especially for a trick like this, I think it looks just fine without the staff rolling. However, if you do it quick enough and with the right amount of momentum, I have gotten it to roll before. It's just not a consistent thing for me. So see how many I can get in with this amount of space. Whew. Okay, maybe I'm gonna move the other way. It's not the view that I like to give, but it's the view that I'm gonna have to give. I'll move towards you guys with it. Oop, redo. Okay, that's the one, groundwork duckouts. So yeah, even without the roll, I thought that these still looked really cool. And one way that I like to try to get the roll going with it is just by kind of swiping the hands up overhead with the staff on the palms, kind of get it rolling before I go for it. But essentially what you're gonna wanna do here is, I'll turn around so that we're facing the same way. You're gonna wanna bring the center point to the back of the neck. More specifically, that little kind of bony point there at the top of the spine or bottom of the neck. I totally need to take an anatomy class because there's a name for it. I want to say it's like C something, but anyways, that's where we want the center point at. And then I'm going to turn to my right. Of course, you could also do it turning to your left, but we'll get to both sides eventually or on your own, depending on how much time we have. So I'm going to be turning to my right. Because I'm going to be turning to my right, I want to press the side of the staff on my left side. I want to use my left hand to press that side forward in front of me. And right before it hits my head, I want to duck my head. So now the staff did one turn. And right there, I'm going to try to kind of pinch the staff behind the neck as I turn onto my right hand, onto my left hand, kind of like the top of a push-up position, but with your knees down too. And then as you turn over one more time, you're gonna duck your head so that this end of the staff on your left side can pass in front of you over the head as you return to that sitting position with the center point behind the neck. So that's kind of one rotation of duckouts. Of course, you can do them for as long as you have space. I'm a little limited on that right now, but in real time, it would look like this. Ooh. And when you turn over, you could actually lift your knees and come up to the top of a push-up position if you wanted to, but I think especially when you're learning it, easier to come to hands and knees and then to sitting. And if you do want to go over the motion without the staff, this is kind of what it is. You're in a seated position. I have my legs out in front of me. Turn over onto the right hand and the left hand, hands and knees. Remove the right hand to come back to sitting. Move the left hand. And on you can go. So that's the motion, at least if you are going to your right. Double check the time. Oh, we are all good. Okay. So I'll do that again this way so that I have more space. Wait, no, I need to be doing it. Okay, this way, this way. Had to think about that for a sec. So from our seated position, bringing the center point under the back of the neck, press the left side of the staff forward, duck your head, come to your hands and knees with the staff behind the neck. Let the staff continue to rotate left side over the head as you turn over back to sitting. And then if you wanted to continue it, you would turn back onto your hands and knees. Let the left side of the staff pass over your head. To continue, ooh, yeah, this is definitely one where you need a good amount of space for. Also, a really good one to take up stage space if you've got it. Got my staff tangled. Okay. Any quick questions on the groundwork duckouts? Like I said, I know the staff doesn't roll in them. It is possible to get it rolling in them, but pretty difficult. I called them groundwork duckouts, but I don't know if that's actually correct or not. I've heard people refer to kind of like kind of like a Steve move where the staff rotates at your neck. Like I've heard people say those are duckouts, or I don't know if you can see that. I'll do it again. I've heard some people say that these are duckouts. And I don't know, I just felt like these were duckouts because you're really just ducking your head out of the way. But I'm so often wrong about Dragonstaff tricks that these days I'm just like, hey, if anyone knows, let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna pull this thing. So yeah, I called them groundwork duckouts, but totally not married to that. And this is another one of those tricks that I think looks really nice on contact staff too, especially since you don't have to worry about the roll or anything like that. Let's see here. I'm gonna double check my notes, but I think we might jump into some somersaults here. If anybody is absolutely like no somersaults, I like physically not happening. Feel free to, you can send me a message or jump in the chat, whatever you like. I had to work a lot on somersaults because I was trying to do them just with the dragon staff and it was so clunky and I kept hurting like my neck that I was finally like, okay, I just need to practice somersaults without the staff and then come back to it with the staff. So that's why if anybody just does not want to touch the somersaults, I totally understand. But I think if you've got enough padding and you round your back enough, tuck the head, we should be able to prevent any problems. And we are going to cover somersaults both forwards and backwards. I think forwards for me is easier than backwards, but I've also met people that think that backwards is easier for them than forwards. So I think it's just one of those things. Different strokes for different folks and all that. And making sure I didn't skip over anything. There is a little combo in here, but we could save that for the end if we like. So, okay, somersaults. Like I said, I personally find the forward somersault easier. So we're gonna go over the forward somersault first. And basically how we get into the forward somersault. I guess I could try to demonstrate it first. That's always nice. I hope I've got enough room for this. I might even have to do it towards you guys or away from you guys, but we're gonna find out. This is what it's supposed to look like. This is not one of those tricks that I land 100% of the time, but we'll see how this one goes. It's been a little while. Hey, okay. So yeah, if you didn't notice, I'll just show a forward somersault without the staff real quick. You really take it from someone who's really bad at these and had to learn the hard way. It helps a lot to round your back, tuck your head, and use your hands to assist you so you can really roll as much in a circle as possible and as softly as possible. Ideally coming down like one vertebra at a time, not just like clunking down like I did the first like 100 times. So really bringing the head to the ground, tucking the chin towards the chest, using your hands to slowly, you can still see it's pretty clunky, but that's with a lot of practice for me. So that's why I know the somersaults are not for everyone. They can be a little jarring as well. But if you are interested, this is how we're going to get into them, is basically from a Superman. So we send the staff towards us, up the arms, duck the head, and then as soon as the staff comes behind the neck, that's where I start bringing my hands to the floor for support. So right here, when the staff comes behind the head, instead of bringing the hands behind me like I would for a Superman, I'm going to let the staff start to roll down the shoulders, down the back, as I bring the hands to the floor. And even here, I want to start to round the back. So that's going to help the staff to roll. And then I usually take my feet off the floor, kind of like I'm squatting, duck the head. Is the timing is really the hard part of this one, is knowing exactly when to somersault. And it is as soon as the staff is starting to travel down your tailbone. Once it's about to drop off onto the floor, you need to provide a track for the Dragonstaff to roll on. So that's why as soon as it's rolling down the tailbone, like it's about to drop off, you want to be fully ready to start to roll. Oops, too fast. Into your somersault. Ooh. And then ideally, the staff will roll up the thighs towards the feet, and you can bring the hands underneath the staff. Staff should still be rolling towards you. And I'm going to try to give another view, because that way does not give me much space, and this way we can both be facing the same way. So coming in from our Superman, as soon as the center point is behind the head, bring the hands to the floor, feet to the floor, round the back, tuck the head. As soon as the center point reaches the tailbone, ooh, somersault. Slower the better, more soft than I just did, hopefully. And then let the staff roll up the backs of the legs, catch the staff at the hands, rolling towards you. And I'm going to try to do that again in real time instead of being all slow motion while I talk through it. Honestly, a lot of times when I come into it, I don't even, I keep myself kind of in a squatted position. I keep my feet on the floor. That way I don't have to worry about coming from a kneeling to squatting position. Ooh, almost. So yeah, like I said, I don't land this one 100% of the time, but it's a really fun trick and definitely a wow trick for the crowd, for the muggles, however you want to say it. And any questions on the forward somersault before we move on to the backward somersault? I am far worse at the backward somersault. So at least landed one of those forward somersaults. I cannot guarantee I will land a backward somersault, but I can show you the path to it. um, can you help me become 10 years old so I can do that? Yeah, exactly. Because my 6-year-old niece can somersault way better than I can. And yeah, something about somersaulting with when you're a kid, it felt so like soft and easy. And I'm 32 now. I hit the ground. I feel that in my back and neck when I hit the ground. So this would be a really nice one to have like some of those really nice like thick pads, like gymnastics pads for. I have like some workout pads that I used to practice it on, but yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the things that people land on when they pole vault, like that's what I kind of need to work on my somersaults. Which, on that note, the backward somersaults. So the reason why the backward somersaults are a lot more funky to me, is because when I do a backward somersault, hopefully you'll be able to see from this angle. I cannot, I don't know if we're even supposed to, so maybe I just need coaching, but I cannot keep my chin towards my chest. I have to turn my head to one side or the other. And whatever side that I turn my head to is I want to basically come onto that same side shoulder like so. So I have to pick a side. I'm either rolling to my right or rolling to my left. I first saw this trick from that same video I had mentioned earlier of Linda Farkas. And I swear when she does it, she does not tuck her head to either side. And she kind of uses her hands, I think, even to kind of like press herself up out of a backward somersault, which I just don't have all of that. Maybe someday, but I don't have all that going on right now. So I tuck my head to one side and roll onto that shoulder, which is why I don't like to do them too often. I feel like if I practice backward somersaults just for like a solid half hour, my neck is just really unhappy. So I usually keep it to a couple tries. But we're going to give them a little go here. We're actually going to come into these. I had mentioned earlier that if we made it to the somersaults, we would pick up where we left off from the halasana roll. So that's exactly how we're going to get into the backward somersault. So for the halasana roll, quick little refresher, we set the staff down the fronts of the legs, over the toes, onto the bottoms of the feet, and then down the heels, down the backs of the legs, and then we caught it with our hands. So that's going to be the main difference there, is in the backward somersault, we're not going to catch it with our hands. Give myself a little more space. Instead, as soon as the staff is reaching kind of the backs of the thighs, backs of the buttocks, right there is where you're going to want to pick your side. For me, it's my right side. And then backward somersault onto that shoulder as the staff rolls over the buttocks, up the back. Whew. Ideally, out in a somersault, something like that, or out in a Superman or something like that. I'll try to show that in real time, but again, no guarantees on the backward somersault. Oh, I'm forgetting one very useful tip in the backward somersault. Again, this is not how Linda Farkas did it in the video. This is kind of some techniques that I have just found helpful, even though they're not how Linda Farkas did it. I'll get there however I can get there. And that is as soon as you do your somersault onto the shoulder, you actually want to kind of keep your hands down along your sides on the floor so that as soon as you do that somersault, you can bring your hands underneath the staff and guide the staff up the arms in a Superman. So even though that was really sloppy, hopefully you could see what was happening there. I'm going to do that again, facing the same direction as you. Staff rolls down the legs onto the bottoms of the feet, down the heels, halasana roll. Then onto your shoulder, backward somersault. Oh, all right, I'm blaming the couch on that one, but we'll try again. And once you turn over onto the shoulder, you want to bring the hands underneath the staff. Ooh, something like that. Backward somersaults are not happening for me today. So yeah, another one of those tricks that if you're not getting on the first try, please don't be discouraged. That's for either of the somersaults, really. But as difficult as they are a thing and they are there. And just because I struggle with it doesn't mean that you will. Um, and I think it's just about all we got. We've got like 4 minutes left, but I'm afraid I also have a combo set out for this workshop, but it might take a little bit longer than 4 minutes. So any questions before we wrap up the groundwork workshop? Or yeah, any trick that we covered, anything that wasn't clicking for you? Really appreciate all of you being here. And yeah, I wish I could make you 10 years old so you could do the somersaults. I wish someone could make me 10 years old too, so I could have picked up a Dragonstaff at 10 instead of 20 something. That would have been cool. Into and out of the somersaults gracefully. Um, Let's see. I can't give advice on the backward somersault because I feel like I'm really clunky with it. I would definitely say watch that Linda Farkas video. It's called Dragonstaff and Contact Staff 2-in-1. And I would watch what she's doing with the backward somersault because it's very different than what I'm doing. And I think is easier to keep level if you're not leaning to one side or the other. I can say one kind of fun I don't know if I could say super graceful way, but one way that I like to come into the forward somersault is by starting with the staff balanced on my head. I have to move my camera up a little bit. And especially if there's a crowd or something, it's a nice way to come into it. And, you just lit it up or something like that. Lots of fire, have it balanced on your head, and kind of give you a chance to throw out some dance moves, whatever you like. And then if you raise your chin, the center point will start to roll down to the back of your head. And then you're already in that position for a forward somersault. As far as getting in and out of them gracefully, I think that's more of a matter of just practicing somersaults and making those really smooth without the staff. I think that once you do it with the staff, it should all translate over. But I think that's like probably my smoothest entry into a forward somersault is letting it roll straight from the head, down the shoulders, then coming into the somersault. Oh, it's off balance. And yeah, you kind of know with your somersaults real quick if it's going to work out or not. If you feel it totally leaning to one side, you already know it's probably going to be a miss. Ooh, I want to get one though. Nope, 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 not it. Okay, okay. Yay, glad that helped. And oh yeah, let me end this recording.